Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I have a very fun recommendations video today. I'm collabing with my good friend Samantha from Books with Samantha. She's another romance booktuber, and today we both have videos on our channels where we recommend some groveling romances. So make sure to check out Samantha's video and go subscribe to her. She's gonna have recommendations for some groveling historical romances. If you know me, you know how much I absolutely love groveling romances. It is literally my favorite thing to read. And yes, I do have two other videos where I recommend a bunch of my favorites, but of course I still have more to share. So here are some more of my favorite groveling romances with some good groveling heroes. This first one is an oldie but a goodie. It's an older indie romance that did get picked up by a publisher. It's The Mighty Storm by Samantha Toll. This is one of my favorite rockstar romances, and it is so messy. I have reread this book, especially the ending, for the grovel so many times, and every time it hurts me so good. This is your classic rockstar romance. It is super messy and angsty. It's filled with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The main characters were childhood friends, former childhood best friends. True and Jake grew up in England together until Jake had to move away to America, and that's where he blew up big and became this huge famous rock star. True herself grew up to be a music journalist, and over a decade after they lost touch, they reunite because she's gonna interview him. This is the moment that they reconnect, and you can feel that tension between them. True had the biggest crush on Jake back then, and she still kind of does, but the thing is, she has a boyfriend. So there is some messy cheating here with True being in a relationship but wanting Jake, and Jake definitely not making it easy for True because you can clearly tell that he wants her and he will do anything to have her because True is it for him. It's a crazy roller coaster of a romance of all these emotions. True goes along with Jake on his tour, and things do get toxic, but it is so fun and entertaining that you can't stop reading. These characters are a little bit awful, but you still love them. And then the ending is where the groveling happens. Of course, Jake does something terrible, or at least it seems that way, and True leaves him over it, and Jake is just desperate to have True back. So we have this huge famous rock star who's just so determined to win back the love of his life. He has to grovel, he has to beg for forgiveness, and he does cry in one scene. I was like, yes, give me those tears. So this is one of my favorite rockstar romances. There is a sequel too, and there's a little bit of groveling there as well, but this first one, you can read it fine as a standalone. It's just messy perfection, and the grovel hits so good. This next one is a former bully romance. It's Never Sweeter by Charlotte Stein. Another older book, but I will get into some newer groveling romances. But this one, like I said, it's a former bullying romance. The hero used to bully the heroine back in high school, and it was like awful bullying too. I'm personally not a huge fan of bullying romances, but this one takes place after the bullying. Letty and Tate are now in college. After this one awful, terrible accident that happened towards the end of high school, Tate is extremely remorseful over Letty. That accident was his wake-up call to realize that he was freaking awful to her, and now he needs to make things right. Luckily for him and unluckily for her, they are partnered up for a class. They're working on a project together. This is pretty much Tate's one chance to finally make up for all the years of hurt that he caused her, and he really does his best. Like, you can just feel that regret oozing out of him. Letty, of course, doesn't believe that Tate's changed, and she definitely makes him work for it. You feel so much for her and what she's gone through, and she definitely deserves, you know, all the happiness. And the author does make you believe that the hero can give it to her. So this is another crazy angsty read. It gets very emotional, a little bit dark, and bonus, the hero is a virgin hero. This next recommendation is a little bit weird because I've only read the third book in this trilogy because that's where all the groveling happened, and I didn't really care to read the first two books. I just have weird reading habits when it comes to groveling romances. It's The Lone Wolf by Penelope Sky. This is the third book in the Wolf series, and yes, the series does follow the same couple, and I really have no idea what happened in the first two books except for what happened at the end of book 2, because that was the reason for all the groveling in book 3. So this is an arranged marriage romance, and there is some slight mafia aspects to it, but the main characters, they enter this arranged marriage. Arwen marries for protection and Maverick marries because he wants to avenge his mother. And this being an arranged marriage, they don't have feelings for each other. They actually kind of hate each other. But then slowly, of course, feelings do start to get involved, and this is when the hero gets a little spooked. And even though this is an arranged marriage and they don't actually have to keep their vows to each other, Maverick cheats on Arwen. He sleeps with these women at the end of book 2, and this is when Arwen decides that she's had enough and she leaves him. Book 3 starts off with her leaving him even though he doesn't want her to. She moves out, gets her own apartment, gets an actual boyfriend, and starts sleeping with someone, which was amazing to see. She was not celibate during the separation. He was though. He was celibate during the separation because he realized how much he messed up. Maverick lost the best thing that ever happened to him. He threw her away in the cruelest way possible, and now he wants her back. And it does take him a little while to finally start groveling, but once he does, it's great. He's a total idiot, but if he wasn't an idiot, we wouldn't have some groveling, right? And honestly, it's because of this, her not being celibate while they were broken up, that makes me love this book so much, because I never really see this. It's like 90% of the time the heroine remains celibate and the hero does not. It's very angsty on his part because you can so clearly tell how done she is with him. So she does make him work for it, and then there's this whole like mafia stuff that happens towards the end of the book. So this one's great to read, and again, I only read book 3, so if you want to read from the beginning, feel free to, but all the groveling happens in this 3rd book. And then I have an author from Wattpad. I actually started reading on Wattpad, but only reading this author because she writes groveling stories. I've never gotten into Wattpad before, but I made an account just for her so I could read all of her stories, and they're so good. The author's name on Wattpad is Grovel to HEA, Grovel to Happily Ever After, and every single one of her stories is some form of a groveling romance. There's some with cheating, there's some with like an emotional affair, there's a bunch where the hero keeps some sort of secret, he lies to the heroine, and every single hero has to grovel. And she does an amazing job with these grovels because she's a reader like me. She loves groveling romances, and sometimes the groveling romances that we read just aren't enough. So she decided to take it upon herself to write her own and write the best ones that she could, and they are so good. I love her. I love all her stories. I like die every time she has a new chapter, a new story coming out. I have notifications turned on for her and everything. These romances are on the shorter side though. They're novellas, they're short stories, but they all have a full story. About half of the ones that she has on her page are finished, and the others are works in progress. Some of my favorite completed ones are Merrick and Kinley. All of her stories, their titles are the names of the main characters. So Merrick and Kinley is one of her cheating romances and is probably her most popular one. This one has a heroine who falls in love with an MC president. She's a teacher and his son is in her class, and that's how they meet and fall in love. But then on the day that she finds out that she's pregnant, that she's happily pregnant, she finds out that he's cheated on her their entire marriage. It's fucking awful and gutting and so angsty. She completely cuts him off and he's just ripped to shreds over it, and he does like this complete 180 on himself, on the way that he runs his motorcycle club. He works on himself to completely change and earn the heroine's forgiveness. And a lot of these stories too from Grovel to HEA involve therapy, which is so important when it comes to like why the hero hurts the heroine in whatever way and how he can make it so that he doesn't hurt her again. Another great one with another biker hero is Dare and Aspen. This one, the hero, when he finds out that the heroine is pregnant, he blows up and goes off on her. He says some awful things. He says he doesn't want the baby and he forces her to leave. So now he has to make up for all that hurt for saying such awful things, and he has to make up for the fact that he wasn't there when his baby was born. So it's crazy angsty here too. She has a series called the Foster Girls series, which is 4 stories about 4 girls, 4 orphan girls who become a family, become foster sisters. There's one with a hockey player hero who messes up, one with some super messy other woman drama, like the hero has this ex-sister-in-law who makes things very difficult for the heroine. And then my favorite was probably the fake marriage one. Like the heroine, she believed that it was a real marriage, like she believed that the hero loved her, but it was all a lie. She moves away to a small town and he chases after her to beg for forgiveness because he did actually fall in love. And then there's some works in progress as well. There's a music star one, Rio and Polly. This one, the hero, he's becoming this famous music star, and for PR purposes he has to fake this relationship with an actress who is not the heroine. So he has to fake this relationship for the public even though he is in a real relationship with a heroine. He just has to hide it. The heroine at first agrees to this relationship because she knows that it's gonna be fake, but then the hero starts crossing lines and the heroine just has enough and she leaves him. There's also one called Burr and Daisy. This one is paranormal. The hero is like the king of the Fae and he knows he has like a queen out there, he just doesn't know who it is, and he could never believe that his queen could be the heroine who's, you know, this girl next door who's not super stunning or anything, the girl who's crushed on him for the longest time, and he says some awful things about her that she overhears, so he has to grovel for that. If you couldn't tell, I love this author. I read every single one of her stories. I live for her updates, so if you want some good doses of groveling, definitely check out her page on Wattpad, and plus they're free. And then my final recommendation, I actually have two from the same author. It's Huang, and she has two books with some good groveling in them. The first one is Twisted Love, which is the first book in her Twisted series. It's a new adult romance, it's brother's best friend, and Alex and Ava are fantastic together. The groveling happens towards the end of the book because you find out that Alex has lied and manipulated Ava. Not just Ava, but her brother too, who is Alex's best friend. Alex has a lot to make up for, not just for the lies, but also for pushing Ava away at the end, making her believe that what happened between them wasn't actually love, even though it was. So towards the end of this book, Ava moves away to a different country, and it takes a while for Alex to finally get up the courage, but he does follow her there, and that's when all the good groveling starts. Some people say the groveling was too long because it does take months, but honestly, I would rather have a too long grovel than a too short grovel. So this one is great, and he has to do something that he hates doing that makes him very vulnerable to finally win Ava back. And there is some groveling in the other books in the series, but this one definitely is the best one. And then the newest Anna Huang book also has some good groveling too. This is King of Wrath. This one just came out, and it's an arranged marriage romance, although it's more like an arranged engagement because they don't get married until towards the end of the book. But Dante and Vivian are forced into this engagement by her father. Dante is blackmailed and Vivian does this out of duty to her parents, and they absolutely hate each other. They don't want this marriage, but they do move in together to pretend to the public that they're in love. And the groveling happens at the end because the truth comes out about the reason why Dante entered this arranged marriage. He pushes her away, he hurts her, and now he has to make up for all that hurt. Dante is a very alpha and possessive hero, and he has to humble himself to earn Vivian's forgiveness. It was just the perfect amount of angst that really hit the spot for me. I really love this book though. It's one of my favorites this year, so if you're looking for an arranged marriage romance with a good dose of groveling towards the end, read this one. And that's it for this video for some romances with some good groveling heroes. If you need any more recommendations, be sure to check out Samantha's video on her channel. I'll link it down below, and also my two other groveling romance videos. As always, links to everything will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!